Today I'm going to cover the new and updated features in this release, and then I'll share some new training resources and upcoming events. If there's time after all of that, we'll address any outstanding questions at the end. Now, this release included improvements to several different parts of the Everlaw platform, including early case assessment, uploads, search and review, organization administrator functionality, and project settings. So to help me get a sense for how familiar folks are currently with the new features in this release, I am going to launch a super quick poll. So let me do that, which you should now see under the polls tab on the right side of your screen. So go ahead and take a second to fill that out. Well, seeing those responses coming in. All right, looks like most folks here are pretty unfamiliar with the newest features, or you have a little bit of familiarity and you're hoping to get some more information. So you're definitely in the right place here. Okay, so let's dive right in. Starting off, we have made several improvements to the early case assessment experience, which is Everlaw's low-cost data storage option for the beginning stages of your case before in-depth review. So first, users that are in custom user groups in ECA projects now have access to search term reports and clustering by default. So they will automatically have the receive permission for search term reports in the view permission for clustering. And previously, users in these groups were not able to access these tools by default, and a project admin would have to go in and adjust their permissions later. So this change just gives non-administrator users more tools to explore the ECA data right away. Next, when you're uploading data to ECA projects, you'll now have the option to create and apply custom metadata fields and values on the additional options step shown here, just like you can in non-ECA projects. And this keeps your metadata values consistent across the ECA and review phases of the document lifecycle, helping your team stay organized from the beginning. There are a couple things to keep in mind here. Number one, custom metadata affects all projects. So in order to have that consistency I was just mentioning, any custom metadata values that are applied at this step will be applied to the documents in both the ECA project and any review projects that the document is also uploaded to at this time or is later promoted to. Number two, your metadata cannot be edited in an ECA project. So any metadata value that you customize upon upload cannot be edited directly within the ECA project. It can only be changed with an overlay later. Metadata values can be edited in any review projects that the documents are uploaded to, but that will not retroactively update the document back in the ECA project. Additionally, you can now copy a search term report from an ECA project to a review project within the same database. So search term reports are really valuable for understanding your data and for the overall review process. And this new feature saves you the time and effort of having to manually recreate search term reports in the review project once documents have been promoted. So you can leverage your document analytics work across the entire database. So let's see this in action in the Everlaw platform. So here I am in an ECA project, and I have a few search term reports here. And let's say I want to copy over this key term search term report into my review project. To do that, I will just click on copy here. and then choose Copy to Another Project. I'll see a list of all the projects on this database, and I'll just select the Review project here. And then I can give it a different name if I want, and press Copy. And now when we switch over to the Review project, it's going to take a minute or so for these numbers to load, but once they finish copying over, we'll see the number of results for this new copy in our Review project specifically. Let me refresh here and see if that does the trick. It can take about a minute or so for those numbers to show up, but they will eventually show up here, and you'll be able to see those results for just your specific Review project. And now you don't have to manually recreate that search term report that was in your ECA project. I'll refresh one more time, see if we got the numbers yet. Nope, okay, looks like it'll just take another minute or so. There are a couple other things to keep in mind about this feature. So first off, not all searchable set criteria can be copied over. So some criteria within search term reports can be specific to that ECA project. For example, you might have a binder that exists in the ECA project but doesn't exist in the Review project. When this happens and you copy over that report, you'll see this warning over here letting you know that some criteria in this report are specific to the current project and will not be copied. You can add or update them in the destination project after copying. Second, search term reports copied into Review projects are initially private to the user who copied them. The exception is that the copied search term report will still be visible to all project admins, which is normal for all search term reports. But if there's someone who isn't a project admin and needs this copied search term report, you're going to just want to share it with them or their user group specifically. A couple other things here. You can only copy to one project at a time. So if you need to get the search term report into multiple Review projects, it'll just copy it separately in each one. And lastly, search term reports only flow from ECA to Review, meaning you cannot copy search term reports between Review projects or from Review to ECA. It's just for moving from your early stage ECA project to your Review project. All right, I'm going to keep us moving to the next section, but if you have any questions about any of these features, please do drop them in the Q&A. Okay, so let's switch gears and talk about some improvements around uploading data into Everlaw. First off, for teams working with iManage Work 10 on iManage Cloud, you can now upload native data files directly to Everlaw using our iManage connector. So this dramatically accelerates your workflow by eliminating the manual step of downloading documents from iManage to your computer before then uploading them to Everlaw. Note that key iManage metadata, including folder structure, is automatically copied over as raw metadata in Everlaw, so you can still search on that information and use it right away. So to use this feature, first, an iManage admin must add the Everlaw iManage connector in the iManage control center, so outside of Everlaw. Then in Everlaw, you'll start a native upload and select the iManage Cloud, like you're seeing on the screen here. You'll then be prompted to log in to your iManage account, and the iManage file picker will appear, which allows you to search, filter, and select the files and folders that you want to upload. And once selected, you'll then be redirected back to Everlaw to complete the rest of your upload as usual. So much faster than having to download those documents from iManage to your computer. You can just upload them directly. There are a few things to keep in mind for this feature. So number one, you'll only be able to upload files that your individual iManage account has access to, and that access is controlled by your iManage admin. Second, you cannot select more than 50 loose files or folders from iManage at a time. So if you need to upload a larger number of files, you just want to put them into one folder in iManage before uploading them to Everlaw. Additionally, the iManage connector is designed for importing native data into Everlaw specifically. Process data, such as a document production that you've received, should still be downloaded from iManage and uploaded to Everlaw through our process data uploader, just to make sure all of that process information is connected appropriately. And then lastly, only the most recent version of a file will be exported from iManage to Everlaw. That version number will be saved in the metadata in Everlaw, but the file version history is not exported. I've got a couple more improvements related to uploads. So when uploading native data from a Microsoft Purview export that has been downloaded to your local machine, you are no longer required to zip or compress the exported files. So instead of zipping, you should just add those exported files into their own folder on your computer before initiating the upload, and then select that folder when you're actually in the uploader in Everlaw. And again, this will hopefully save you some time so you don't have to wait for those files to be compressed and zipped. We've also made a couple improvements to uploading that already processed data, like a production from opposing counsel. So first, Everlaw can now recognize any sequence of characters as a page separator in Bates numbers, as opposed to just standalone periods, underscores, and hyphens. So in this example, Everlaw will now correctly identify underscore NTP as the page separator. We've also made several improvements to how Everlaw handles OPT files to verify page numbers and handle missing documents. We don't have time to cover those in detail today, but you can read all about them in the comprehensive release guide, which is linked in the Docs tab on your screen. All right, let's move on to some improvements related to search and review. First up, when you're using the prior search term, the number of previously run searches available has increased from 50 to 200 searches. And so this gives you access to more of your recent search history, making it easier to reuse complex search criteria. Additionally, when you are exporting or downloading documents as PDFs from a results table, you now have 3 options for how the file is named. So in addition to naming the PDFs by the Bates number, you can also choose to name those PDFs by the original file name, like report.pdf, or the Bates number and file name, like abc1-report. You'll also have the option to clean up the file names and replace characters in the original file names, like colons and backslashes, with underscores to avoid any potential issues with certain operating systems. Now, speaking of the results table, you'll see another new option here, which is this little folder button. And this icon allows you to add or remove an object like a search or binder to a homepage folder directly from the results table here. You'll also see this folder icon on Storybuilder objects when you're uploading documents, on completed upload cards, on assignment groups, and on search term reports. And previously, if you wanted to put any of these objects into a homepage folder, you could only do that on the Everlaw homepage. So this change makes it easier for you to keep your folders organized and up to date without having to stop what you're doing and go back to the homepage. So let's take a look at this one in the Everlaw platform as well. So let's say I'm taking a look at my key documents binder. I open that up. And as I'm in here, I realize I want to put this binder into one of my homepage folders. I'll click that folder icon up here. And then I can choose which folders I want to add or remove it from. So you'll notice here that this says add or remove search from binders, or excuse me, search from folders, instead of saying add or remove binder from folders. And that's because my grouping settings right here are bringing in documents that aren't a part of this binder themselves, but are related to documents that are. So if I want to add just the documents that are in this binder, I'll need to close this menu and adjust my grouping settings so that my grouping is not bringing in any additional documents. I'll save this, and now when I press that folder icon, we'll see that it now says add or remove binder from folders, assuring me that I'm just adding the documents in this binder and not bringing any additional documents in. So I'll select my folder now and press save. And when I go back to the home page and click into that folder, we'll now see that binder that I just added. If I did not adjust those grouping settings, instead of seeing this red binder card, we would see a green search card, again, because those grouping settings were bringing in documents outside of this particular binder. All right, let's jump back to the slides here. Talk about another frequently requested feature that I'm excited to report is now available. So over in the export menu of a results table, you'll now see a new option to create a Bates gap report. And this allows you to quickly identify and address gaps in your document numbering, which can indicate incomplete productions or missing data. And this is most often useful for reviewing incoming productions from an opposing party. And let's take a look at this one in the platform as well. So I'll go back to my home page, and let's say I am looking at this production I have received from opposing counsel, and I want to make sure there's no documents missing here. So I will just go to the export option, and now I'll click this new Bates gap report. And when I do that, it's going to create a CSV that I can download from this pop-up here, or I can download it from the home page. And the CSV is going to look something like this. It's going to list out the present ranges, so the documents that are in Everlaw, and then gap ranges for Bates numbers that were not in Everlaw. So we can see here that I have a gap from Enron 9 to Enron 17. There are a couple things to keep in mind with this feature. So if you want to run a Bates gap report on an entire prefix, you're going to want to search for the prefix without specifying a range, like you see in this image here. Another important note is that the identified gaps start after the lowest number shown in the results table. So for example, if the lowest number in the results table is ABC 10, then there will not be a gap identified for ABC 1 through ABC 9. Also worth noting, the other Bates field is not included in this report, since this report is only intended for true Bates numbers or control numbers with the pound sign. And then lastly, the gaps do not report page level suffixing. So even for Bates ranges that include page level suffixing, the gaps are always going to be reported in these whole numbers here. Okay, and then lastly, we've got a few improvements for organization administrators. So number one, when sending legal hold notice emails, you can use the new merge field called custodian list to automatically insert an alphabetical bulleted list of all of the custodians on the hold notice. And this saves you time from having to manually type out a list of custodians every time. You can just include this shortcut. Organization admins also can now rename suspended databases themselves without having to contact Everlaw customer support. So you can do this directly on the organization admin projects and users page by clicking on the three-dot menu next to the suspended database and renaming it as you like. And then for organizations using Everlaw's API features, the fields num pages and end Bates are now available for the document endpoint. Cool. And then one other improvement I want to highlight, last but not least, we're always thinking of ways to make the Everlaw user interface more intuitive. So in the auto code rules section of project settings, you'll see that we've rearranged things a little bit. And we changed the terminology from designation to coding category to be more consistent with the rest of the Everlaw platform. So in addition to these new features, we've also got a couple new resources that I want to let you know about. First up, we've fully redone our in-depth video on legal holds. And this comprehensive video covers how to use Everlaw's legal holds feature to build a directory of individuals, create new matters, send notices, and manage your legal holds. If you're interested in learning more, check out the link to the video that'll be dropped in the chat in just a moment. We also have a brand new short video on legal hold data preservations. And this video covers how to use Everlaw directly to lock and retain data in sources like Microsoft 365, as well as how to track external data preservations that are managed outside of Everlaw. We'll also add the link to that video in the chat too, if you're interested in learning more. And then I also want to mention that Everlaw Summit, our marquee annual conference, is right around the corner. But it's not too late to join us in San Francisco for 3 days of education, connection, and inspiration. So go ahead and check out everlawsummit.com for more information. All right, at this point, we will open it up for Q&A and see if folks have any other questions about the new features. So give me a moment to just check in, see if any questions have come in that we want to cover here. All right, I am not seeing any more questions come in, so I am going to go ahead and launch one more poll for us, which you can now see under the poll tab. And I'd love to get a sense for how you're feeling about the new features in this release now that we've talked about them a little bit. So go ahead and just take a quick second to fill that out. And before you go, we have one more ask. We'd greatly appreciate it if you could take a moment to fill out our short feedback survey. We're always looking for ways to improve our training offerings at Everlaw, so we'd love to know what you liked about today's session and what you think we could do better. So we'll drop that link in the chat as well. If you could take a couple minutes to fill that out, it would mean a lot to us. And thanks everyone for filling out that poll. It's really great to see that folks are feeling a lot more confident about the new features. All right, if there are no more questions, I think we can wrap things up. Thanks so much everyone for joining today. We hope to see you on another Everlaw training soon. Take care, everyone.